Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Let me put you. You got a question, Adam?
No. I would never interrupt you, sir. Never.
Okay.
I would never do
Chris, let me put you on
anyway,
this.
what I
On
was
this. Let me put you on the spot here.
Sure.
Put your advanced Cicerone hat on. Before you finish that beer, can you give me a description of that beer that you're drinking as an advanced Cicerone certified
Sure.
beer drinker?
Okay, sure. So you want to get full nerd on this beer? Is that what we're trying to do?
Yeah. Full nerd right here.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. Oh, God.
All right. So normally, if you're going to do a full judgment on a beer, right? If you want, you would do a blind judgment, right? So I wouldn't be presenting the information ahead of time, right? So
Okay.
the first thing that will obviously slant your opinion on what you should be drinking, but you would evaluate. So the Cicerone program obviously has 4 levels to it. So each level gets exponentially harder than the previous level, right? So as you go through the levels and take the exams, you're sort of ideally you've hit the books, you've done your research, you've got a certain level of experience, and you're able to take that next step. So all beer evaluations go the same way, right? So you talk about appearance, right? You talk about aroma, you talk about flavor, and you talk about mouthfeel. So I have over on this side of the screen, I've got a huge tray of different beer glasses that I like to use depending on the type of beer that I'm drinking. But this Scrag Mountain Pils, so if we just look at appearance alone, right, this has a beautiful light golden color. I'd say the standard reference method is probably between 3 and 4 at max, right? It's not quite straw, but it is slightly darker than that, right? It does have some nice residual lacing on it, right? But it is also very clear, right? So this is clearly a filtered lagered beer. Aroma on this is, I haven't actually ever done it with this beer, so aroma on this is like, it's slightly crackery. It's also very floral. So this strikes me as a more traditional Czech Pils, right? A Czech Pils should have those kind of Sauser type German style hops, or some Czech hops, right? And they should be very perfumey, right? American hops are often very tropical. They're very dank, juicy. Those are words that we use, right? European hops are a little bit different, right? So that's something I'm getting there. I also get like a little bit of sulfur on this, but sulfur is just a typical kind of offshoot or sort of byproduct of a lot of lagers, right? So that's something that happens. Mouthfeel is lovely. It's bubbly, but not too harsh. It is very, very dry. So the finish is very quick, right? It doesn't cloy at all. There's not too many residual sugars. It is crackery, right? It tastes like you just ate kind of like finished up like a water cracker kind of thing, which is what the malt really should do. Pilsner malt and pale malts, it should be a showcase of those types of things. And then the mouthfeel, like I said, is really, really nice. And there's actually a little bit of there's almost like a little bit of a lemony character in there, and I'm not sure if that's coming from the type of hops that are used or if I'm just getting that because I've been swirling it for a while or it's been out for 15 or 20 minutes. But that would be my initial Cicerone level evaluation of this beer.
That's awesome. I mean,
I could listen to that all day.
I know that was incredible. I can't even. When I drink a beer, I'm like, tastes like orange.
There's hops in there.
Yeah, I mean,
the hardest part about Cicerone, frankly, guys, is everybody has a good palate, just like everybody has a good ear, right? Like people are like, oh, he's tone deaf. Like nobody is tone deaf, right? Like you can hear things, right? But the key is the ability to, and I'm honestly still not very good at it, but the key is the ability to match that thing that is a flavor to a word, right? And so if you can find out what that is, right, and bring those two things together, right, in a sentence, that's really the vocabulary that training for things like this gives you, right? So what it does is I could say crackery as a malt characteristic, right? And then you go, it is crackery, you're right? But you knew that already. Like you already tasted that, right?
You just couldn't put it together, yeah.
You just didn't put one and one, right? So the key to those types of things is you have to be very proactive, right? You have a very good palate, right? You know what you're tasting, but you just have to think about it more often than you used to, right? So it's all there. You're able to label it basically.
Now, when did you're advanced Cicerone, which is the 3rd level. So the next level would be masters, which is the highest level.
Correct. Yep.
Now, first, you have any desire to go for master? Is that in the plans or?
It's in the plans. Yeah. So I'm threatening. I'm internally threatening to do it right now.
And if you do it, you're like, there's like 10, less than 10, right?
Or something. I can't remember what their word.
Or less than 20.
I don't know. There's probably less than 20.
And there's lots
Yeah.
of- yeah.
Yeah. There's about 100 and I actually don't know the answer to this. I think there's like 100 and some, like 115 advanced Cicerones.
Yeah.
Yep. You're right.
And then there's like probably 3,500 or 4,000 certified Cicerones, and there's probably 100 something thousand certified beer servers, which is the first step. So each level definitely kind of, people drop out as their interest in hitting those books, slows down a little bit.
So what made you start the Cicerone program? Was it just your interest in beer, or was it a job that wanted you to get the beer, or what? Or what did you get the
Guinness has been very supportive, and they actually help pay for my time for me to be able to actually sit down and hit the books. And I'll say this about Cicerone in general. I think that there are I think most of the beer professionals that I look to in the world as mentors and people that I really like know way more than I do about beer, right? They're just they haven't gone out of their way to take the exam, right? But what I do like about the Cicerone exam and the Cicerone program in general, I know a lot of the folks that are there, and they're very passionate about beer, right? They just really, really appreciate everything about beer. And the second thing is that it does give you at least a baseline level, to talk to other people about, to say, look, this guy has, or this girl, this person has tried, and they have in fact gotten to a point where they're able to show this knowledge in a certain way, So my interest in the Cicerone program, there's a small part of me because I love a good challenge, and I never turn down a good challenge. So there's a small part of me that just wants to do it just to say I did it, right? I think everybody could probably honestly admit that. But most of it probably just stems from, it gives me a very good framework to continue to advance my knowledge and know as much as I can about this subject. I just think it's incredibly interesting.
How quickly did you go from, beer server to certified Cicerone to advanced? How much time are we talking between each one?
I took, I'd have to probably look at my profile on the website to figure that one out. It's been a while. It was a number of years. I mean, between those, and each level, like I said, each level is noticeably harder than the previous level, right? So certified Cicerone is a lot harder than certified beer server. Advanced Cicerone is a lot harder than certified Cicerone, and then Master Cicerone is insanely difficult. So,
and Master Cicerone is what? It's 3 or 4 days, or 2 or 3 days.
It's 2 days, but the problem, I think it's 2 days is the exam, but it's only held once a year in Chicago at the Cicerone office in Chicago, and it's very difficult because it just takes everything you've learned could potentially be tested. Right, first of all, and then second of all, it's just essay questions and then practicals. So practicals meaning they could spike your beer with one of 30 off flavors, right? And then you'd have to be able to pull out the off flavor out of the beer, right? So it's that level of nuance that you have to be able to do. I'm not nearly there. It's most people don't pass. Most people don't pass Advanced Cicerone either, right? So I guess I got lucky, but it's just it's a good framework for just getting yourself really dug deep, into the business.
Does Master have I know Advanced Cicerone has a tasting challenge or whatever exam, right? Does Master have it too?
Master Cicerone has about half the exam is a practical exam, right? So the Advanced Cicerone exam takes the entire day. It's a full day exam, morning to night, and there's about 6 basically evaluation periods for tasting beer, right? So you have to identify beer styles, identify off flavors, say whether you would serve a beer, do all these other things. And there's basically 6 tasting portions throughout the day. So there's lots of tasting with the Advanced Cicerone. Yeah.
Is there any room for error, Chris? Is this you have to be perfect? Is it 90%? How?
The pass rate is... or not the pass rate, the pass score, I think, is an 80. So you have to get an 80 or above to pass. Yeah.
Yeah, I have been talking about doing Cicerone for a couple of years now. And it's funny, my wife said, who you guys having on tonight? And I told her you, and said, what, you're Advanced Cicerone. And then, of course, I brought up the subject. So when are you doing it? Shit, I shouldn't have said anything.
Most people say that. I'll say this, right? It's not intimidating, right? It's actually a really fun process because there's a set number of things. I can send you guys all the reference material you need, actually. And then I've put together study guides for lots of people. It's really fun to get into it because you start reading through things and then you start connecting dots. And it's just a very interesting exercise, right? And if you commit now, the key, just like a marathon, right, is you have to find a date and commit to it, right? So go to the website. This is what I found anyways. Go to the website, find a date 6 months from now, buy it, right?
Pay for it.
and then you're in, right? So then you have to study. So,
I might take you up on that because my wife will not stop bugging me now that she found that I was good. Thought about doing it.
happy to help.
Oh, that's very. I mean, your description of that beer was amazing. I mean, I don't remember. Was David Nilsson working on advanced level when we had him on?
He was certified.
He was certified, but he wasn't advanced. He's working on it. So to hear you discuss, just your description of that beer is, it's almost encouraging to try and work on some of this stuff because, like I said, I try to describe a beer and it's like I can't, just like you said, I can't get the words out of my mouth. I know what I'm tasting, but I can't really put it together what actually is coming through to me. So I mean, that just really cool to hear you say that.
It's really hard. That's the hardest part. Like that's don't beat yourself up about it. I mean, that's the hardest part about this whole thing is what you just described. So to say that anybody would think that's easy is a you can walk behind me.
You can.
He's really tall too. He's really tall too. Yeah.
You don't have to have clothes on. We don't care. Not big deal.
But to say that's don't beat yourself up about that kind of stuff because it's really difficult to figure that stuff out,